B-boy. From the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East Coast to the West, B-boys worldwide. We supposed to be blessed, still a B-boy.
This week, we're heading to Compton to talk about one of the pioneers of gangster rap, from forming Ruthless Records, helping start NWA, his amazing solo projects, to Hip-Hop Thugsta. Eazy-E is the definition of a West Coast icon. So this week, we're going through the top 10 Easy motherfucking E songs. Joining me, as always, I got Raven Hunter with me, my man Diz Mega, and for the first time, you may remember him from Noizewave. You may know him as Rowdy Jesus. Surreal, the MC, knows him as his brother, but I still call him AP. What's up?
What up? How y'all doing?
Good, good.
Can't wait to talk about Easy. He's like my lord in rap.
I'm gonna start at number 10, and I'm going to 1993's It's On 187 Dre Killer, and I'm going with Gimme That Nut. This is just such a classic sex song. It might not deserve a top 10, but it puts a smile on my face even to this day when I hear that fun beat, that fun vibe. Classic Eazy-E. It's catchy as hell. Yella did the beat. This was just, I usually use my number 10 as my guilty pleasure number, things I just got to get on the list. So Gimme That Nut is my number 10. Raven, what is your number 10?
So my number 10, I started with 1992 5150 Home for the Sick EP with the Neighborhood Sniper. That was just an always really gritty sounding song. I love the way it turned out on that EP. Is super underrated. A lot of people, unless they had the reissue of Easy Does It, I don't even think know that EP exists, but it's got some killer tracks. And Neighborhood Sniper just was always one of them standout tracks for me. So yeah, I started off there. That's kind of I had to get it on the list because I had to show love to that EP, so it got number 10.
That whole EP is dope, and it'll be talked about more, no doubt about it. All right, Diz, what do you got at 10?
At 10, I got Sorry Louie from Straight Out the Streets of motherfucking Compton. We got Easy doing some storytelling almost, he's in his own way. He goes nuts in it. He does things that other rappers would not do, like smack a kid with a bat, I mean, it's Eazy-E. It's classic Eazy-E. I love that track. It's a standout. Sorry, Louie.
That'll be another one that's talked about later. AP, what is number 10 in your list and heart?
I had to go with the song Radio. Just because, back then I just love the fact that, none of the hip hop culture was really getting pushed on the radio, especially around in the Midwest where I came from. Definitely nothing on the airwaves. And that song Radio, it always got me. So number 10, Radio.
That was on my honorable mention, so I'm glad it got brought up. All right, we are at number 9, and I'm going to his last album, 1996's Straight Out the Streets of motherfucking Compton. And I'm going with the single off of this, Just to Let You Know. The first single off his last album. I always thought this was a great pick for a single, the perfect choice. It had that classic Eazy-E vibe, a great beat. I remember buying the maxi single because it was new Eazy-E, being excited buying the single. If he would have lived, think of the music we could have got from him, beyond this album. But I just always love Just to Let You Know. It's catchy as hell. So it had to make my list. Number 9, Raven, what is your 9?
My number 9, I went to 1988 with his debut off of the Easy Does It album. I went with No More Questions. I love those type of tracks, and I know a bunch of rappers have done it, but that's the first time I really remember hearing that style. I know True and Master P and them did some tracks like that too later, but I think that was more the homage to Easy anyway. But yeah, I've loved that beat. I love the whole concept of the interview and the way they broke it up. It was one of the standouts on that album. That album's the reason I rap. I've talked about that many times. When I found that cassette tape, my whole fucking world changed. So Eazy-E is always going to be the godfather for me. I had to show that song because that was always one of my standouts when I was a kid. So No More Questions.
I know, it's so creative, and that's an element that I always complain about's missing from modern hip hop is these great storytellings. And like you said, with the interviewer, I mean, it was such a great idea. Whoever came up with the concept, it was gold. Number 9, Diz, what do you got?
I got 8 Ball from NWA.
Ball rolling.
It was such a iconic track for me back when I was a kid. You know, there were a lot of tracks that I felt were just like mind blowing, but that one stood the test of time. It always takes me back to the late 80s, early 90s, back when I was really influenced by Eazy-E and NWA. But 8 Ball, you know, got the 8 Ball rolling. It's just a classic track. Had to put it on the list, man. Love it. I've listened to the remix mostly these days off of the Eazy-E tribute record.
That was on my honorable mentions too. I really wanted to get that to crack it, but it just missed out. AP, what do you got at 9?
I was off. I think it was off 5150. Merry Mother Effin' Christmas or Xmas, whatever they want to
Yep.
say. I had to put this on because I'm a big hater in Christmas. I just get real like the Grinchy, and when one of my all time favorite MC, you know, kind of had this Christmas song, kind of like telling his kind of stories. I just felt love. I was like, oh yeah, now I can feel this kind of Christmas shit.
That was on my honorable mention too. Every Christmas, I play that song. Every single
Yep.
Christmas day since probably like 92. It's my tradition to play Merry Motherfucking Christmas. We did a top 10 Christmas song, and I'm pretty sure that was at least my number one.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it was my number one as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. I think so. Yeah, Merry Motherfucking Christmas is the shit.
It's just a well-produced song too. If you really listen
Oh,
to it
yeah,
overall,
it
it's
is.
just like you really get into the vibe and all the mixes with the horns and everything. It's just really well produced.
Number 8, I'm going to the classic 1988's Easy Does It. And Raven, you know how it is. We're always alike, it seems. No more questions. We kind of covered it, but super clever song concept. And what I really love is that second verse where he drops his voice to almost a whisper when he's robbing the house. It's like he's to the point where he's breaking into a house, so he's got to rap quietly.
Yeah.
That's clever as hell. I mean, that's witty as shit. So whoever came up with that concept is a genius. No more questions. Such a great song. So that was my number 8. Raven, what is yours?
My number 8, I went with "Give Me That Nut." That's already been covered, but it's a great, just classic sex song. It was one of those like silly ass songs that he liked to do on almost every album back in the day. Like even "I'd Rather Fuck With You," I always kind of just laughed at that fucking song too. But yeah, "Give Me That Nut" always used to make me laugh. I was like 11 when the shit came out, or 10 or some shit. I think it was 11 when this dropped. Yeah, it's just a great, fun sex song.
I gotta give me that nut story that makes me look like a bad person, but I have a sister who's 12 years younger than me. And when that came out, I was in high school, but she's like a little kid. And I don't know, I had to take her somewhere and I'm playing the new Eazy-E EP. And later that day, she's in the kitchen, like 4 years old, singing "Give Me That Nut." And my mom's looking at me like, what the fuck are you teaching her? So shout out to my sister Nicole, teaching her Eazy-E at the young age of 3 or 4. Number 8, Diz, what do you got?
I got Love for Them Gangstas. It's a little unknown track, but it was on the Beverly Hills soundtrack produced by Dr. Jam, featuring Dirty Red, who did not get enough airtime at Ruthless, but he was dope. I love the track. The beat is awesome. It was one of those tracks that really helped define the Ruthless era, I think, because they were going with the different gangsta sound without Dre, long after Dre now, but I gotta show a lot of love to that track, man. Every time I hear it, I'm like, man, I love this song. Just can't hear it enough. Love for Them Gangstas.
Yeah, I really love that song. And on the soundtrack was the edited version. You could only get the explicit version on the single. I remember having that tape single, but that's perfect. If you want to say "Explain Eazy-E to Me," that'd be a great song to play for him. Love for the Gangsters. I love that song too. AP number 8, what do you got?
I had It's On. The beat, first of all, just grabs you. You know, it just takes you in right away. And that whole song, as well as a beat maker and a producer and stuff like that, just the way he delivers everything about it, it's just a beautiful song. Not my most favorite, but like it's that always pulls you in type of song.
Well, that's perfect bridge because my number 7 is "It's On."
Hey.
So this EP is probably my favorite project of them. Even though Easy Does It, it might be in my heart's number 1. This album is just so hard and gangster. But besides the song I'm going to talk about later, this is the best song on there. Another dope Dre and Snoop diss. The lyrics dissing them might even be a little better on here than on Real Motherfucking G's. But the intro's dope but simple hook, Rhythm D on the beat, who doesn't get enough credit too. He made some great beats in the 90s, Rhythm D. But I agree, it's on. Number 7, Raven, what is yours? It's on?
No, but I will talk about that song in a little bit. I'm actually going to leapfrog backwards behind y'all to get to my man who said "Love for them gangsters," because that was the best thing about Beverly's Hills Cop 3 was hearing that fucking song. And the beat, it was just like the It's On era, that classic. When I think about Eazy-E gangster music, the beats from It's On, because you're absolutely right. It's On is his best fucking CD. Easy Does It is more loved and known, but every single song is fucking hard on that EP. And this would have fit right on that album. So I Love for them gangsters, definitely.
I'm glad other people love that song as much as I do, because I always thought people don't talk about that song enough, but it was kind of obscure soundtrack, Beverly Hills Cop 3 soundtrack, so I understand. Number 7, Diz, what was yours?
I'd rather fuck you. Yeah. This is from
Yeah.
NWA. Okay, dude, the song is awesome. I mean, how much of an explanation does it need? You know, you hear it, you're like, yeah, man, I do want to roll up a fat ass joint and listen to this, man. I used to cruise around with my ex sometimes and put that on, and she'd just look at me like I was bizarre, and I was like, yeah, you know, cruising through this little town with you know, blasting this track. And besides that, you know, growing up on it, I was like, this song is the shit. So I went into some NWA here, but love that Eazy-E track on there.
Yeah, Easy was an entertainer through and through. I mean, he made some funny shit.
yeah.
He made some gangster shit. Rowdy, Jesus, AP, what do you got at 7?
Number 7, I had Boys in the Hood, classic. I mean, it got high on the list because you know it's amazing, but it's not. It can't be my number 1. It can't be down there. But I had to put it in the list.
Absolutely iconic. You talk about West Coast iconic songs, that's high on the list. All right, number 6. I'm going back to Straight Out the Streets of Motherfucking Compton. And Diz, you brought it up before. Sorry, Louie. This song makes me smile every time I hear it. Even 25 years later, the other day I was listening to it, the shit made me laugh out loud like a little fucking kid. And if you really listen to the lyrics, it's dark as hell. It's almost like some Bushwick Bill Ghetto Boys horrorcore type shit. I mean, he's beating little kids to death with a bat. He's cutting people's dicks off. He's eating their brains. I mean, that's crazy as hell. It's really fucked up when you listen to it. But the beat was done by Bobcat, another West Coast legend. Great sample at the beginning with that like country hick talking about. And whenever I see a Louisville Slugger, I think of Eazy-E. It's just ingrained in me. So Sorry, Louie is my number 6. What is your number 6, Raven?
The beat for Sorry Louie was really fucking fun. I love that beat. It always stood out on that album for me. That was an honorable mention, so I'm glad other people enjoy that song. But for me, I would go with Still Talking from Easy Does It. I mean, that's the first thing you hear when you hear that album. And that like I said, that changed my whole fucking world when I was a kid. I was like 10 or some shit when I got that tape. And that beat is great. You know, the opening lines kill it. Just Easy killed it. Doc's on there. I think Cube's on there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I love that fucking song. It's a great opening song for Easy Does It. So I'd go with Still Talking.
Now that you got the album, what you gonna do with it, bitch? What a way to start the album, no doubt. No, that's a good one. Number 6, Diz, what do you got?
I got What Would You Do?
Nice.
Straight Out the Streets of Motherfucking Compton. I mean, the way it starts, man, I remember just getting goosebumps the first time I heard that track. And the way he was going at Death Row and Suge Knight and just talking to Daz and Corrupt. And then, of course, he's got Dirty Red doing some of the dirty work on here. I don't know. It doesn't get that much credit for one of the best diss songs ever, but it's phenomenal. It's just, I was just listening to it earlier today, and I was like, this track is just so good. Still, 20-something years later, it's so good still. So, yeah, it's kind of dark, but You know, that's where Easy was at that time. So what would you do?
That was on my honorable mentions too. You're right. Just the way it starts, it is an eerie beat. And it is a forgotten, Death Row disc because everyone thinks the real motherfucking G's in that whole album. And another shout out to Dirty Red, someone who's kind of forgotten the history, unless you're a hardcore, hip hop head. But I'm glad that got brought up.
Word.
That was on my honorable mentions. We are at 6. AP, what's your 6?
I think I had a repeat. I think on the list I sent you, but I meant to put I'd rather fuck you because I don't care where I'm DJing at, and I can throw that at any party, and people are drunk. Let's start playing, dancing around. Makes me want to fuck.
All right, we are halfway through. I'm going back to what I said is my favorite, 93's It's On. Real motherfucking G's. It's On might even be better, if I'm being honest, but this one is so iconic. Dre dissed him, and Easy came back just like, both barrels blazing, just a big fuck you. Like, he just killed them. It wasn't even close if you compare the two diss tracks between Dre and Easy. Beat by Rhythm D just bumps. If you have subwoofers, it just rattles that shit. And this introduced us to BG Knockout, Gangsta Dresta. You diss Eazy-E, you get fucked up. And that's what real motherfucking G's taught us. One of the best diss songs in hip hop history. That is my number 5. What is yours, Raven?
So initially my number 5 was Real Motherfucking G's, but I've scratched that out because I've talked about that song in 4 different lists. It's been at the top of my list over and over every time we talk West Coast music. So I just decided to leave it off this list, even though initially it would have been right here, and I ended up putting It's On in its place because same vibe, same feel, same hard ass lyrics. It might even, like you said, it may have even be better. It just doesn't sound as iconic as the beat from Real Motherfucking G's. So yeah, I had to give love to It's On.
I know that shit hits hard. It's On. Diz, what is your number 5?
Taking it back to the first record, We Want Easy.
Yeah.
I love that song, man. It was one of the main reasons I got hooked onto Eazy-E for sure, man. Back in the day, just an easy song to easy listen, and to sing along with the hook, and they made a funny video about it, and it was just classic Eazy-E, man. I loved that stuff back in the day. So, We Want Easy.
That was on my honorable mentions, and you're right. The video, something that
Yeah.
always stuck out to me was, so in the first 2 verses, he's like in a jail cell rapping, and Cube's one of the people in the jail cell, but Cube's also in the audience at the live show. He's in both places. I remember catching that as a kid and being like, "Oh shit, they fucked up." Then he jumps through the screen. Iconic video, iconic song. Yeah, that's funny. Cube was in 2 places at once. They didn't have enough extras, I guess, that day.
Just like he is now,
Right.
Music and movies.
Music and movies, yeah. Number 5, AP, what's yours?
I just want to say, I always tried to recreate jumping through a screen. That's one thing. I mean, come on, that's the best shit ever.
Oh yeah.
So okay, so number 5, I had to start it with the song that made me fall in love with Eazy-E the most. I think that it was just like, oh yeah, this guy has got swagger. He is gonna be. He was a star. You knew he was a star. It was Easy Does It. So like when I heard that, I was like, this guy is gonna be the biggest thing ever.
Yeah, that was on my honorable mentions too. The title track is great.
I sometimes cry when I listen to old Eazy-E. Like it's just like I tear up and I think to myself as a youngster trying to be cool with my backwards hat, drinking malt liquor 40 ounces like I belong. And it brings a tear to my eye, like, oh, this is so beautiful.
Number 4, 1988's Easy Does It. And I'm going with Still Talking.
Yeah.
This pick is for 10-year-old Chris, is how old I was when Easy Does It came out. And 10-year-old Chris loved this shit from the, you got to tell him what you can do about it, bitch. She got more crabs than a seafood platter. I mean, that shit just popped me as a 10-year-old, That the two old people talking and, you know, rapping back and forth. And it's amazing that they put this out and Straight Outta Compton. Both of those albums came out in 88. And if you throw in Ice-T's Power, think of those three iconic West Coast albums that really put the West Coast on the map. What a year for West Coast rap. A great first song like we talked about, and it's for the kid, Chris. So my number 4 is Still Talking Shit. What's yours, Raven?
My number 4 would be the motherfucking Real with MC Ren off of
Nice.
Straight Off the Streets of
Oh,
motherfucking Compton.
yeah.
I love that beat. It's such a like dirty, just eerie, dark, like slow beat. It's the pacing I love. And Ren's voice fucking kills it in that song. So I just, yeah, the motherfucking Real. I always love that fucking song.
Then at the end when he says NWA's back in this bitch, yella drop it. That like gives you goosebumps. Because man, if he wouldn't have died, we would have got a NWA reunion eventually. Man, that would have been the shit.
Yeah, and I remember, like, speaking of tearing up and shit, I bawled my eyes out the day Eric died, because he died the day after my birthday. And I was fucking devastated because, like I said, he's the reason I rap.
Right.
And that shit, I thought I'd never hear him again. And then I think a year later is when Straight Out the Streets came on, and that's all I listened to for like 2 fucking years straight. That was it. I had the VHS tape from the Sam Goody pre-order with the video on it, Just to Let You Know, and Any Last Words videos. Yeah, fuck that. I love that shit.
No, that is an underrated Eazy-E song. Both him and Ren kill it. Number 4, Diz, what do you got?
I went ahead and put Real Motherfucking G's on here. Just, you know, actually that whole record is just so great. And not just the music, but I remember looking at the cover for the first time, looking at him like, holy crap, that's Eazy-E. And he looks gangster as fuck. Like more gangster than I'll ever be. You know, I'm like a teenager at this point, a young teen, and I'm just looking at it like, oh my God, this is the gangster life I want. I want a 40. I want that jacket. Whatever he's doing, I want to be that. You know, he was just so badass. And Real Motherfucking G's was just, you know, the Eazy-E reminding us that, you know what, I'm the boss. I got more cash than all these guys. I'm a made man. This is my company. I was here first. Whatever, you know. Eazy-E just he did what you knew he would do, and that was just come back like a boss.
4, AP, what do you got?
I had Nobody Move. This was just super OG to me. Like you can't get any better than that, except for a couple other songs of me. But yeah, Nobody Move. The structure of it, the writing process of it was amazing.
And another great storytelling. I
Yeah,
mean,
and they have lost that art. Just
I know.
because you know they're not just telling you a story; they're incorporating it in the way they do the song, like you said, the whisper and all that.
Right.
It's thought of a little bit stronger to get your story across in the production and everything.
That too was an honorable mention. We're really on the same page, everyone, today. It's good to hear. You guys must have good taste if you're on the same page as I am.
Well, I forgot about the Beverly Hill Cops 3 song. I gonna put that on the list. I totally forgot about it. So I'm glad that we're having this song.
Which brings us to the top 3. We are there. And my top 3 for the first time, I'm going to 92's 5150 Home for the Sick. And I'm going with Only If You Want It. This is easily Eazy at his best lyrically. He proves he can rap here. Another dope EP, like you said before. But what's interesting is KG from Naughty by Nature did the beat for this song. And then when I went on Wikipedia, Tretch wrote the lyrics for this song. So when you go back and listen to it, you can hear the Tretch cadence, and it makes total sense why this is the one song that sounds like that. Tretch from Naughty by Nature wrote these lyrics, but Eazy delivers. He performs in perfect. It's by far his most lyrical song. He pulls it off. Only If You Want It. Had to make my list. That is number 3. What about you, Raven?
Number 3, I stayed in the 1988. I went with Nobody Move. Damn, that was a great storytelling song. It was entertaining as fuck. There's so many elements of that song that would be problematic in today's culture, but it's a great song. And it's gangsta as fuck. It was one of the standouts on the first album for me. But Nobody Moved. That chorus alone, like, gets stuck in my head all the time.
I actually was surprised it didn't make my list. Initially, I thought that would for sure make it because what a great story. What a great story and song. Number 3, Diz, what do you got?
I actually have Nobody Move. That's my number 3. This one holds a special place in my heart. You know, I have this memory of getting off the school bus in elementary school and some dropout dude, I don't know what he was doing home, but he was blaring this song. And the first time I heard it, I was like, that is like the dopest thing I've ever heard in my life. And that was the track, Nobody Moved. And this guy like embodied Eazy-E. Like he was wearing a Raiders hat and Lokes. He was Mexican, but I was like, that guy looks just like Eazy-E, and I want more of this Eazy-E stuff. So that was the first Easy track that I remember just blowing my mind as a kid. And I love it, man. I love the storytelling in the song too. It is creative, and what's cool is that it goes with their persona. You know, Ren's kind of the sidekick, and Easy's just being easy. He's crazy. Dope track.
Number 3, AP, what do you got?
I have Real Motherfucking G's. The beat on that one again just brings you home to West Coast hip hop. Just right away. And then you got to have the shit talking, the bragging, and bringing your homeboys. Just the whole vibe.
Absolutely. Classic. It's a reason why it's on everyone's list. All right, number 2. And there was multiple versions I could pick of this, but I picked 1988's Easy Does It version, and that's Boys in the Hood. You got the original, then you got this remix. I picked the remix because you get an extra verse in the beginning that's not on the original. And then he did it again on It's On, but I think the Easy Does It version is my favorite, but all versions are dope. It's such an iconic song. It's so important to West Coast hip hop. It was really hard not to put this at number 1 just for what it meant to West Coast hip hop. Songs like Ice-T 6 in the Morning, Boys in the Hood. I mean, that's 1, 2. You can interchange them. Important songs of West Coast. And again, we talk about it. Storytelling. It's a dope story. And it's just 87 when that was first came out. And why can't rappers in 2023 tell a story? I mean, it's ridiculous, but just tell me a story. That's why I fell in love with this shit. But Boys in the Hood, iconic. Number 2. What about you, Raven?
So my number 2 with Great Minds Think Alike, I went with Boys in the Hood, but I actually went with the G mix from It's On because the beat's a little bit harder. I just love that era of Eazy-E's gangster rap is some of my favorite rap of all time to this day. And Boys in the Hood, whenever I want to put that song on or when I think of that song, it's the G mix.
Yeah, that beat is the best beat out of the 3, no doubt about that. Number 2, Diz, what do you got?
Number 2, I got Boys in the Hood from NWA and the Posse.
He's got we did all 3 versions.
That's crazy.
Shit.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
That record has some good gems on it, man. Like at least it's nostalgic for me. It's like, oh, it takes me back. I love it. You can still hear that track being bumped to out in the wild every now and then from strangers or whatever. It's an influential track. I don't know how many people have redone it. So it gets like a makeover every now and then from different rappers and stuff. Nothing like the original, man. Boys in the Hood stands the test of time. It's iconic. You could say it put the West Coast on the map even. Boom, Boys in the Hood.
Absolutely iconic. Absolutely. That's crazy that we all had it in all the 3 different versions. That's amazing. AP, what's your number 2?
Mine is No More Questions. That was another like storytelling, just super, I don't know, just like that ultimate male that can just show his power to the world and raw and like, hear me now. I'm gonna tell you how it is though, but no more questions.
Which brings us to number 1. And I had to be real with myself. I had to say number 1 has to be what my favorite Eazy-E song is. And I honestly think this is my favorite Eazy-E song. And other people brought it up, so it's not a huge surprise, but the general public probably will think it's a surprise. I'm going to 1994's Beverly Hills Cop 3 soundtrack. I fucking Love this song. I played this tape out, this single, played it out. I mean, you couldn't read one letter on that tape. I played it so much. This is everything I love about Eazy. This is the version of Eazy that is my favorite. Dope lyrics, super dope beat, extremely catchy and dope hook. And fun fact, Slash from Guns N' Roses plays the guitar solo at the end. Track by Dr. Jam. This is just everything I want in an Eazy-E song. Love for them gangsters. So it had to be number one. Raven, what is your number one?
So with my number one, I also went with the let me be real. When I think about Eazy-E, what's the first song I'm gonna want to put in on my car? And that's Any Last Words, produced by Cole 187 off of the It's on Dr. Dre EP. That fucking beat it's the darkest, hardest gangsta beat that I had heard up to that point until like Spice One's Born to Die a couple years later.
Right.
I still think Any Last Words, it bumps. That chorus has that like haunting, almost choiry sound of that dude's voice, and he just going fucking off. And the video, I remember being on that little VHS from the Straight Off the Streets pre-order, and yeah, that was just another great dark video, simple as hell, with just his boys in like a dark, smoky room. But I just always remember, I love that song, and to this day, that's my ultimate like favorite gangsta song. Is probably either Spice One's Born to Die or Eazy-E's Any Last Words.
And big shout out to Cold 187. I mean, another icon to West Coast hip hop, whether it was in Above the Law or behind the scenes or even did solo stuff. I think Above the Law doesn't get talked about enough. Any Last Words is the shit. That was on my honorable mentions. Diz, what is number one for you?
Like you guys, I had to be real with myself in my heart of hearts. No matter how popular or unpopular the song was, I am going with the motherfucking Real, featuring MC Ren. I heard this, of course, we all heard this after Eazy-E passed away. Might have been the last song that he performed. The beat, Ren comes in so hard, Eazy comes in so hard. These are two bosses of the West Coast, just reminding us that they're who they are, and I love them both, man. Like I knew them. I love these guys like I knew them personally, and that's how I'll always feel about them. And I love the duo of Eazy and Ren. That's my number one track.
It's respect for that.
And like you said before, I mean, I can remember clear as day being in high school and hearing that Eazy died, and just that one, probably that or Jam Master Jay are the two that like really hit me. Like I was tore up. I mean, that one hit me hard. I mean, all right, AP, what is number one for you?
Only if you want it. Yes, I really want it. Can I get a open up, easy, look it up, poke it up, look it up, well, give it up, or look at the
one.
Yeah.
Shut the what up,
come on now, hated my babysitter because she wouldn't let me hit it. Come on, that's fire. I just can't, that's my always go-to number one favorite Eazy song of all time.
It is, and he kills that. I mean, he fucking shows he can fucking rap bars.
Yeah, he's just not the slow rapper. He showed out, and he was on beat. Like some guys lose, some of the slower guys lose it when they gets fast. But he had it.
No, that's a good one. There was a reason it was in my top three. That song is the shit. Honorable mentions. If nobody mentioned it, I'm just gonna shout it out to give it some love. A guilty pleasure of mine. It was the B-side of the Boys in the Hood record, and it was also on NWA and the Posse, and that's Fat Girl. That still makes me laugh too.
You got a fat girl, how much?
Yeah, I mean, that shit still makes me laugh like I'm a little fucking kid. It's ridiculous. Easier Said Than Done, I think, is a really great song. Brothers My Height Don't Fight off of 5150. My Baby's Mama, because I had drama with my baby's mama back in the day, so that one kind of is personal to me. Old School Shit, which starts off that last album, bangs. It's got some dope features. And then they end it with Gangsta Beat for the Street, which I think is a really dope collab too. Are we missing anything that needs to be said?
Still a Brother. I'd say Still a Brother as well.
Yeah, I mean, that whole album.
Oh, yeah.
That whole album.
You reminded me of the B&K song. Do you remember that one off the 10th anniversary?
Yes.
That was crazy. My honorable mention would be Sipping on a 40. I love that song.
Great song. I love
great
that song.
sample.
It's fun.
Yep, great sample.
so
Classic
cool.
war song. Even another one is off the Superfly soundtrack, Easy Street. That was kind of a fun song
Oh,
too.
I forgot about
Remember that?
Easy
That's a great
Street.
one.
Oh, that was so hard. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
Damn,
too.
sometimes I smoke so much I forget about everything good. I'm gonna go jam Easy Street for
Yeah.
sure.
No doubt.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
The Superfly Returns soundtrack, I think, is the soundtrack that was on.
Oh, radio got bumped off my top 10. Easy Street's in.
We got through another round table. Eazy-E, obvious legend. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night, and we are out. Peace.
B-boy, from the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East Coast to the West, B-boys worldwide, we supposed to be blessed. Still a B-boy, from the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East Coast to the West, B-boys worldwide,